My name is Rina Nicolae. I'm an internet culture writer and researcher, and today I'm going to share a little bit about my research on the phenomenon known as Italian brain rot. So what this is a TikTok trend that started around February 2025, and as of the recording of this video in May 2025, it's still going strong. And it refers to a trend of people from across the internet, across the world, creating AI-generated hybrid animals. They're usually a mashup between an animal and an inanimate object, and they're backed by an usually Italian, male AI-generated voice that is chanting some kind of rhyme over the top. So let me give you a few examples of what I'm talking about.
Oh, trallallero trallallà, porco Dio e porco Allah, bombardiro crocodilo. Un fottuto alligatore volante che vola e bombarda i bambini a Gaza e in Palestina. Non crede in Allah e ama le bombe. Bombombini gusini, fratello bombardiro crocodilo, che svolge tutte le stesse funzioni del fratello. Da bombe alla gente, uno scherzo per chi si è trasferito. Trulimero trulicina. Il pritiletin in piscina. Formaggio sulla trulla lima. Ma chi chiama la tazzina? Oi oi oi. Boberito bondito? El bobrito gangsterito. Banditelli don bobrelli. El bondito bobrito gangsterito. Boberito bondito? Frigo camelo buffo fardello? Nel centro della città, tra macchine e calore, un frigo camelo cammina con amore. Con stivali giganti e passo lento. Ha perso la gioia, ha perso il momento. Scimpanzini bananini, wah wah wah, bananucci monkey monkey monkeyiucci, burr baloni lulilolli. Oh, trallallero tra...
Okay, so as you can see, these characters are super silly, kind of absurd, and they're not meant to make any sense. They're not meant to have a deeper meaning. They're not meant to offer any values, morality, interpretation, anything like that. So as such, they are examples of brain rot. Brain rot was actually Oxford University's word of the year in 2024, and it refers to low quality, low value content found on social media and the subsequent negative impact that consuming this type of content is perceived to have on an individual or society. So brain rot does not aspire to any kind of aesthetic quality. Again, its purpose is just to be purely silly. Perhaps the best example of brain rot, or the best known example, is Skibbity Toilet, which is a notorious Gen Alpha affiliated series of short videos kind of done in a video game graphics CGI style that feature a bunch of toilets with talking heads coming out of them that try to take over the world and fight a bunch of creatures that are basically these CCTV camera-headed people. Generative AI has a lot of overlap with brain rot aesthetically because, like brain rot, AI slop is also not aspiring to any high level of aesthetic value. So for this reason, generative AI is often used to create brain rot type content or brain rot type memes. But another attribute of generative AI that's allowed for something really interesting in this case is that it kind of allows anyone to create new artifacts, to create new memes, and to participate in these and building out these meme worlds in ways that weren't possible before. So whereas before we had static memes that were repurposed for different contexts, for different reactions, now we have a situation where, because of generative AI, people can actually easily create their own memes, their own characters to this brain rot canon, and they can create new storylines too using those same characters. So it goes from something that is previously kind of static to a more collaborative exercise in more in-depth world building. And another co-creator of this Italian brain rot universe is actually the TikTok algorithm. Because characters reach widespread appeal, they reach a wide audience only when they go viral. So the exercise is not just creating a little AI generated character, but the one most likely to go viral. And then the ones that go most viral are the ones that are more reified into the collective consciousness of this world, the ones that most people hear about, the ones that most people kind of start to develop a fandom around. The other thing that's going on is something called paracontent, which is a term coined by Ruby Justice Tillot, referring to reaction videos or content about content, interpretations of content. He contends that on the internet today, there is more paracontent or content about content than the original content itself. And we also see this happening with the Italian Brainrot universe. We see people doing ranking videos, ranking their favorite AI Italian Brainrot characters. We see people going out on the street with a microphone and asking passerby which Italian Brainrot character they prefer, and everyone seems to have an answer. So these characters have quite quickly reached a large amount of people. And then we have something called textual poaching going on as well, which is a term coined in the 90s by Henry Jenkins, and it refers to a practice within fandoms where fans pick and choose pieces of content and they reinterpret and repurpose them without asking for overt permission from the original creators. So it's this kind of open source world building, open source interpretation, and we see that happening today with Italian Brainrot as well. So what we're seeing happen is going from memes, kind of these two-dimensional things that spread through the internet, to kind of more immersive meme worlds, where because of generative AI, people are more empowered to creatively contribute to building out meme worlds in depth and building new characters and new stories and kind of fleshing out a whole mythology. So certain stories become more known and more popular. Certain characters become more popular. In this next slide, I'll have a few example videos where we can see one of the popular stories, one of the popular myths that involves two characters, one Tung 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 Sahur from Indonesia and one Ballerina Cappuccina, and it traces kind of their relationship.
Ready?
Tung. No! Cappuccina ballerina bacia tung 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 saur e i poliziotti scalano il povero brr brr patapim.
So we can see that Tung 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 Sahur and Ballerina Cappuccina are in love. Ballerina Cappuccina has cheated on Berber Patapim, this forest baboon creature in the background, to be with Tung 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 Sahur as Berber Patapim gets arrested. So a lot of the stories in the canon are similarly sensationalized. They're about relationships, they're about cheating, they're about characters getting arrested. So in the next video, you'll see it's a reaction video of someone ranking their top favorite moments of these characters getting arrested.
No, oh, 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 no, la polizia, no, no, oh, 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 no, no, oh, oh, no, la polizia, no, por, no, oh, oh, no, la polizia, no, no, oh, oh, no, la polizia, no. No.
Anyway. And in this next set of videos, we'll see people kind of creating their own para content and interpretations using these characters. So the first will be a lady doing a quiz, testing her knowledge of the characters. The second is an aesthetic mood board compilation based on one of the characters. And this whole TikTok channel creates aesthetic mood boards for the girls based on the Italian Brainrot characters. And then the last one is a really quite impressive fidget board that is inspired by Tung 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 Sahur.
Saralero sarala, tung 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 sahur, bombadillo crocodillo, ballerina cappuccina, cappuccino assassino, bombito bandito, tripi tropi, leli di, leli la.
She drew that. So now I'd like to compare Brainrot with folklore, because I think there's a lot of similarities in their characteristics and in their mechanics. So like folklore, Brainrot is open source, it's collaborative, there's no single point of origin, it's not attributed to one person, and then it's passed down orally and informally through repetition and variation. So whereas in traditional folklore, this occurs through the spoken word and poetry and song and dance from generation to generation, on the internet, this occurs through TikTok, disseminated through the algorithm. And because of these different transmission mechanics, we have slightly different structures to each of these folklores. So traditional folklore is deep in time. It has a lot of staying power. It sticks around for many, many, many generations. Internet folklore, on the other hand, is quick to get wiped out by the next wave of whatever is algorithmically trending next. However, its reach is very wide. So Italian Brainrot has already reached what I would assume is millions and millions of people in just a short amount of time. But what will its staying power be? That is something that we really can't guess at. It's possible that users of these AI tools and these algorithms and these platforms keep building onto this world. It's also possible that a new meme world arises to take its place. And like folklore, Brainrot enables social cohesion via shared symbols. And again, going back to the meaninglessness of Brainrot, which is something that I actually find quite radical. It's not trying to sell you anything. It's not trying to interpret anything. It's not trying to put forth any system of value or morality. It just is. And it's this very meaninglessness that causes it to transgress these algorithmic borders, these algorithmic echo chambers. And it's something that is fun and it's silly and pretty much everyone can get behind. And I think that is something that's contributed to its universal and global spread. It's also a reflection of an online youth culture that kind of joyfully gives in to this feeling of nihilism, abdicates this responsibility to make sense of the world, instead valuing humor, connection, collaboration over the process of sense making. It's kind of reflective of this attitude of internet natives where the information is just overwhelming. It's too much and it's moving too fast. There's no possible way to make sense of it all, so why try? The best thing we can do is connect and have a little bit of fun. But then from this meaninglessness, there's a different type of meaning that emerges. And It's quite similar to many myths and religious rituals that contain symbols that defy logical explanation, that exist outside of the bounds of the rational mind. So the same thing is happening in Brainrot here, where meaning emerges not from its literal content. Of course, these individual instances of these memes are quite nonsensical, but it's the structure, it's the ritualized repetition, and it's the shared participation that turns these into something. And it turns these into something that people can connect over. And it gives people the feeling of sharing a base of cultural knowledge or some cultural stories that people have in common. So this emergent order begins to arise and creates a coherent mythology, even though these individual instances don't really mean much. And then one thought I will leave you with on this topic, as I was researching this, I felt that it was quite hopeful and quite surprising that something so collaborative and so truly international was arising from these silly little creatures that are just absurd and nonsensical. And one of the reasons why it's so hard for collective and collaborative things to emerge is the mechanics and the design of the algorithm. So we have a feed where there's a very unidirectional flow of attention, where on the receiving end, the user of the social media platform is just consuming, scrolling, and consuming, or they're posting and getting some engagement, but very rarely actual collaboration and actual co-creation. So the thought I will leave you with is, how might we design our social media systems to incentivize this kind of co-creation and collaboration? Are there alternatives that we could look towards that incentivize this type of communal world building with each other? I think that the world is hungry for this type of human connection, and the internet is a great place to do it. It's just that some of the platforms that dominate the landscape today work according to very different logic and very different internal rules. So yeah, how could we redesign our social media systems to enhance and enable more collaborative world building in the future? Thank you.